There was a time when the sound of the dinner lady wheeling out pudding trolley meant everything was right with the world. You'd crane your neck from the back of the queue, hoping to catch a glimpse of what was on offer, praying it wasn't tapioca again. These weren't just desserts, they were the bright spots that made sitting through double geography bearable. Please hit subscribe and give us a like if this takes you back, and do share your own school pudding memories in the comments below. Spotted Dick. Before the name made Year 7 snigger, Spotted Dick was the king of school puddings. This steamed suet pudding, studded with currants like little jewels, arrived at your table with a proper dollop of custard that somehow made even the dreariest Tuesday feel special. It wasn't elegant, it wasn't pretty, but it was warm, filling, and utterly satisfying. The name might have caused giggles, but when it disappeared from most school menus in favor of more modern desserts, something quintessentially British vanished with it. Jam Roly-Poly. The sight of Jam Roly-Poly emerging from the kitchen was enough to make the entire dining hall go quiet with anticipation. This rolled suet pastry, spiral-filled with strawberry or raspberry jam, was pure comfort food. When sliced, it revealed perfect swirls of red jam against pale pastry, like edible art. Served with lashings of hot custard, it was a pudding that could turn even the most rebellious pupil into a temporary angel. Its slow disappearance marked the end of an era when school cooks had time for proper steamed puddings. Treacle Tart. Long before Harry Potter made it famous again, Treacle Tart was a school dinner staple that divided opinion like Marmite. The golden syrup filling, thick and glossy, sat atop a pastry base that could either be perfectly crisp or disappointingly soggy depending on your dinner lady's skill. Those who loved it, truly loved it. The intense sweetness was like a warm hug after a difficult maths lesson. But as schools moved away from traditional British puddings, this sticky delight slowly vanished from most menus, taking with it a piece of culinary heritage. Bread and butter pudding. Nothing said waste not, want not quite like bread and butter pudding, the ultimate school dessert born from necessity. Yesterday's leftover bread, transformed into something magical with eggs, milk, sugar, and a scattering of sultanas, proved that the dinner ladies were alchemists in pinnies. The custard-soaked bread beneath and the golden, slightly crisp top created textural perfection. Served with a jug of proper custard or a scoop of ice cream, it was comfort food at its finest. Modern schools rarely have the time or inclination for such resourceful cooking. Semolina Pudding. Semolina was the pudding that taught British schoolchildren about perseverance. Thick, creamy, and often served with a dollop of jam that slowly sank into its pale surface, it wasn't immediately lovable. But those who gave it a chance discovered its subtle charm, the smooth texture, the gentle sweetness, the way it warmed you from the inside out. Some dinner ladies added nutmeg or lemon zest, elevating it from simple to sublime. Its disappearance represents the loss of patience for puddings that required an acquired taste, replaced by instant gratification desserts. Castle Pudding. These individual steamed sponge puddings, shaped like tiny castles with their distinctive domed tops, were the height of school dinner sophistication. Light, airy, and perfectly portioned, they arrived at your table looking almost too good to eat. The real magic happened when you poured custard over them, watching it cascade down the sides like golden waterfalls. Often served with jam at the bottom, creating a sweet surprise, castle puddings required skill and time to make properly, luxuries that modern school kitchens simply don't have. Bakewell Tart. The school version of Bakewell Tart was a simplified beauty, pastry base, raspberry jam, and a layer of almond-flavored sponge that somehow managed to be both light and satisfying. Unlike its fancy restaurant cousins, school Bakewell was unpretentious and hearty, often served in generous squares that could fill even the hungriest teenager. The combination of sweet jam and nutty almond was sophisticated enough to make you feel grown up, yet comforting enough to remind you that you were still safely at school. Its disappearance marked the end of such elegant simplicity. Syrup Sponge Pudding. When syrup sponge appeared on the menu, the entire school buzzed with anticipation. This wasn't just any pudding, it was a golden, sticky masterpiece that combined light sponge with treacly sweetness in perfect harmony. The syrup would seep into the sponge, creating pockets of intense flavor that burst in your mouth. Served with custard that mixed with the syrup to create rivers of golden delight, it was a pudding that could make even the most dismal school day feel special. Modern health-conscious menus have no place for such gloriously indulgent treats. Coconut Ice. Not technically a pudding but a beloved school dinner sweet treat, coconut ice was a dessert that transported you to somewhere tropical, even if you were sitting in a drafty Yorkshire dining hall. The pink and white squares, dense with shredded coconut and sweet enough to make your teeth ache, were pure childhood joy. Some versions were homemade by enterprising dinner ladies, others came from commercial suppliers, but all shared that distinctive coconut flavor and tooth-challenging chewiness. Its disappearance coincided with increasing awareness of artificial colorings and the move towards more natural desserts. Eve's Pudding. This humble apple pudding, topped with a layer of light sponge, was autumn comfort food perfected. The apples beneath would cook into sweet, tender submission while the sponge above turned golden and slightly crispy. Named after the biblical Eve and her fateful apple, it was a pudding that connected generations. Your gran probably ate the same dessert at her school decades earlier. Served with custard or sometimes a rebellious scoop of ice cream, Eve's Pudding represented the best of British seasonal cooking. Its decline reflects our disconnection from traditional, seasonal desserts. Chocolate Crunch. Before fancy chocolate desserts took over, Chocolate Crunch was the pinnacle of school pudding sophistication. Made with cocoa, golden syrup, and cornflakes or similar cereal, it set into squares that were simultaneously crunchy and chewy. The chocolate flavor was intense but not overwhelming, and the texture was unlike anything you could get at home. Some versions included raisins or nuts, adding extra interest to each bite. It required no cooking once set, making it perfect for busy school kitchens. Its replacement by shop-bought chocolate desserts marked the end of such ingenious simplicity. Lemon Curd Tart. The sharp, sunny flavor of lemon curd tart could brighten even the greyest school dinner. The crisp pastry shell filled with smooth, tangy lemon curd was like sunshine on a plate. Unlike heavy winter puddings, this was refreshing and light, perfect for spring and summer terms. The best versions had a slight wobble to the filling and just enough sweetness to balance the citrus tartness. Making proper lemon curd required time, skill, and real ingredients, luxuries that disappeared as schools moved towards convenience foods. Its absence represents the loss of seasonal variation in school desserts. Rhubarb Crumble. When the school garden's rhubarb was ready, the entire dining hall knew about it. Rhubarb Crumble, with its sharp sweet fruit beneath and golden, buttery crumb topping, was a masterclass in contrasts. The rhubarb would cook down into pink, stringy tanginess while the crumble provided textural interest and richness. Some dinner ladies added apple to mellow the sharpness, others embraced the pucker-inducing tartness. Served with custard thick enough to coat the back of a spoon, it was a pudding that taught children to appreciate complex flavors. Modern schools rarely have the time or inclination for such from-scratch cooking. Milk Pudding Rice. Rice pudding at school was comfort food perfected through decades of practice. Slow-cooked until creamy, sweetened just enough, and often topped with a sprinkle of nutmeg or cinnamon, it was the pudding that could soothe any playground trauma. The best versions had that golden skin on top that divided opinion. Some loved it, others pushed it aside. Beneath lay creamy rice that was neither too thick nor too thin, just perfectly comforting. Modern schools, with their focus on speed and convenience, rarely attempt such slow, patient cooking, leaving this gentle pudding as just a memory. Manchester Tart. This regional specialty made its way into school menus across Britain, bringing with it a taste of Manchester's culinary heritage. A pastry base spread with raspberry jam, topped with custard, and finished with coconut and a glacé cherry, it was like eating a small piece of history. The combination of textures, crisp pastry, smooth custard, chewy coconut, created interest in every bite. The bright red cherry on top made it feel festive, even on ordinary Tuesday dinners. As schools standardized their menus nationally, such regional specialties were among the first casualties, erasing local food culture from education. Gooseberry Fool. When gooseberry season arrived, school cooks transformed the tart, often overlooked fruit into creamy perfection. Gooseberry Fool, with its pale green puree folded into whipped cream or custard, was elegant enough for a dinner party yet simple enough for a school dining hall. The sharp gooseberries were cooked until soft, then combined with sweetened cream to create a dessert that was both refreshing and indulgent. Its disappearance reflects not just changing tastes, but the loss of seasonal cooking in schools. Few children today would even recognize a gooseberry, let alone appreciate its complex flavor in dessert form. Steamed Chocolate Pudding. Rich, dark, and intensely chocolatey, steamed chocolate pudding was the dessert that made every child temporarily forget about their problems. Unlike modern chocolate desserts, this was made with real cocoa and steamed until light and fluffy. The deep chocolate flavor was sophisticated yet accessible, and when served with custard or chocolate sauce, it created a dessert worthy of celebration. Making proper steamed puddings required time, skill, and proper equipment, resources that modern school kitchens simply don't have. Its replacement by processed chocolate desserts marked the end of an era of real cooking in schools. Blackberry and Apple Crumble. Autumn meant blackberry picking expeditions and the promise of blackberry and apple crumble at school dinner. The dark, juicy blackberries combined with sharp cooking apples created a filling that was both familiar and exciting. The crumble topping, made with flour, butter, and sugar, provided textural contrast and richness. This was seasonal cooking at its finest, using what was available locally to create something greater than the sum of its parts. The disappearance of such seasonal desserts from school menus represents a disconnect from natural rhythms and local produce that has impoverished children's understanding of food. Tapioca pudding. Tapioca, affectionately known as frog spawn by generations of school children, was the pudding that taught resilience. Made from cassava pearls cooked in milk until translucent, it had a unique texture that was either loved or endured. The best versions were creamy, lightly sweetened, and served with a dollop of jam that provided color and flavor contrast. Despite its unfortunate nickname, tapioca was actually nutritious and filling, perfect for growing children. Its disappearance from school menus came as health-conscious authorities deemed it too starchy, not realizing they were eliminating a food that had sustained generations. Fruit salad with custard. Before fresh fruit became everyday fare, school fruit salad was an exotic treat. Tinned peaches, pears, and pineapple swimming in syrup, served with thick yellow custard, provided vitamins and sweetness in one bowl. The combination of soft, sweet fruit with creamy custard was refreshing and satisfying. Some dinner ladies added fresh apple or banana when budget allowed, creating textural variety. This simple dessert represented an era when fruit was special, when children appreciated simple pleasures. Modern schools' focus on fresh fruit, while healthier, has lost the celebratory aspect of this humble but beloved dessert that made fruit feel like a proper pudding. These puddings weren't just desserts, they were the full stops that ended school dinners, the sweet rewards that made everything else worthwhile. They connected us to generations of British school children who queued for the same treats, endured the same disappointments, and celebrated the same sticky, sweet victories. If you remember any of these, please subscribe and hit that like button, because you're part of a vanishing tradition that deserves to be remembered.